Returning to our top story now, the German Chancellor is visiting the western city of Solingen 3 days after a deadly knife attack at a festival. He's currently attending a memorial service for the victims alongside the mayor of Solingen and the state premier of North Rhine-Westphalia. Prosecutors say a 26-year-old Syrian man has confessed to killing 3 people and wounding 8 others. Investigators are looking for links between the suspect and the so-called Islamic State. The terrorist organization claims it was behind the rampage. Our reporter Hans Brandt is on the ground. Hans, the Chancellor is in Solingen. I've just been watching live pictures of him laying flowers for the victims. How is the atmosphere there?
Yes, I think you can see behind me that he's actually at the moment just past the memorial that has been set up here for the victims next to a church. And as you can see in the background, Chancellor Scholz is now going to the actual square where the attack took place on Friday night, just about 50 meters down the road. It's a very solemn atmosphere here. The city, of course, is still in mourning. It is the start to a new working week and people are on the road. Normal commuter traffic has started, but there are several shops that are still closed in mourning in respect of the victims that were killed on Friday night. And certainly there is a general concern, not only here in Solingen, but in Germany, I think in general amongst the public, that these kinds of attacks have not been prevented more effectively, that they can happen in a situation like the one here, where there was a festival of diversity taking place in what one might call even an intimate atmosphere on the square behind me, a small square where people had gathered. So there is still quite a lot of shock, and for Olaf Scholz, obviously, it's important to reassure the public in general, and here in particular, that the government is taking the situation seriously and is sharing their mourning and is showing solidarity for people here.
And Hans, run us through the Chancellor's schedule today.
Yeah, Scholz has been meeting with the local government, with the mayor. He is also accompanied by the minister-president, the governor of the regional government here in North Rhine-Westphalia, the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia. After laying a wreath at this memorial and looking at the place where the attack took place, he will now be talking to people who participated in investigations and people who were affected by the events on Friday night, and after that he will be giving a public statement. It is, as I said, an attempt to show solidarity. Of course, Scholz is under enormous political pressure because of the subject of migration, which has become very important in regional elections that are expected in a week's time. So apart from the show of solidarity for people here, there's also a very strong political motive for Scholz to be here and to show his face here.
Yeah, we'll be talking about those political ramifications with our chief political correspondent in a moment. Hans Brandt, thank you, first of all, for your reporting from Solingen. And as promised, let's get the view now from our chief political editor, Michaela Küfner. Michaela, what can we expect from the Chancellor today, besides condolences, assurances to the public? Can he provide some sort of hope that something like this isn't going to happen again?
Well, let's put it this way. He has to avert what is already a political storm brewing from becoming threatening for his own governing coalition at the national level, and particularly in view of regional elections in 2 states, in Thuringia and Saxony, coming up this coming weekend, where the far-right AfD party is potentially in the lead, although it has no chance of actually coming into power there because other parties don't want to go into a coalition with them. The Chancellor, he's made that statement. He's made a very solemn statement. He's tried to reassure the public, saying we need to catch the man who did this. Now, the prime suspect is now under arrest, and now it moves beyond this. And the city of Solingen, this small town, is trying to really get beyond what just happened to them, but they've already seen demonstrations both from the far right but also from the left this weekend. So he needs to calm the waters there locally, where people feel betrayed by the very migrants who live at the very heart of the city, and nationally, where he needs to reassure people that the government is in control of the situation and that migration in itself is not the problem. So clearly, I would expect him to double down on what he said after the last attack, which was at the end of May, where there was a stabbing in the city of Mannheim, where a policeman died, and where he said, we are considering sending people back to Afghanistan. In that case, it was an Afghan national, if they are rejected within the German asylum system. And once again, the prime suspect here was rejected. He should have been at least sent back to Bulgaria. That's according to several reports, where he initially launched the asylum proceedings. And the question is, where was the failure? Was there a political failure overall? Did the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, where this happened, not act properly? And now we're seeing the blame game. But nationally, he needs to send a signal of being in charge, and it's very tricky under these current circumstances.
We heard from Muslims yesterday, from migrants, saying this perpetrator is not representative of us. We also heard from conservative politicians saying that this problem of knife attacks is something that's imported.
Well, knife attacks happen in Germany as well. There was almost 6,000 last year. By far, most of them in, I'd call it a criminal setting. They were criminal offences. This is terrorism. It's something very, very different. There have been very few terrorist attacks, but there should be no terrorist attacks. And what we do know is there was an acute warning issued by Germany's Domestic Intelligence Service in June, that there was an expectation that something could be happening, particularly from the radical Islamist scene. And this is really where the attention needs to be, and where you can't really expect to see any kind of quick fix answer on this. You have one political camp, the leader of the opposition, Friedrich Merz, saying we should stop taking in people from Afghanistan and from Syria, where this latest suspect came from initially. That's a legal challenge. It's very difficult to actually make that work. We'll just leave it there. And then you have the far-right AfD party saying migration in itself is the problem. And it almost, you really need to get to the factual bottom of where the failure here was. But I'm not sure that politicians will have the time to do that. They will need to send a signal, and that will be change of the law. The Social Democrat Interior Minister already proposed tougher bans on carrying knives, the length of the blade. But that wasn't the issue here. It was illegal what this suspect did. He was carrying a knife that already was banned. It was already, because this was a public gathering, it was a public celebration, nobody should have carried a knife. So clearly a ban doesn't work. This man should not have been in Germany. How will the coalition tackle this, and how will they be able to reassure people within a couple of days, within the space until next Sunday, when these key regional elections take place?
Another one is more security, more surveillance, something that many Germans are against.
Yes, Germans are very sensitive to things like CCTV. What we've heard from the police representatives, but also from the Interior Minister in North Rhine-Westphalia, is that there's a problem of capacity, that there simply isn't enough manpower to both to investigate, but also to continue border controls, for instance. So these are all issues that need to be addressed. But again, we're already in the political blame game here.
Political campaigning is underway.
And political campaigning, we're still more than a year until there are national elections here. Having said that, this is the stuff that could become threatening for Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor's three-way coalition, which already is struggling to just keep its political act together because there's so much political infighting over other issues, mostly the budget.
And his approval ratings aren't all that good either, are they?
No.
Michaela Küfner, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on the political angle there.